Let's talk then the movement, because we've been hearing, I want to just give a map of the region. We've been hearing a lot of talk about this island over here, Kharg Island, not just from the United States sources, but also hearing it from the Iranian, from sources within Iran saying they're prepping for something, right?
Absolutely. And
so let me give a close image, a satellite image of what we're talking about. What's so important about Kharg Island?
Well, first of all of this, right? All the oil infrastructure
90%,
and gas infrastructure. Right? 90% of their oil exports go via Kharg Island. There's a terminal there that tankers go up to. You can see there's a bit of a port here as well.
I'll have some targets here for you.
Yeah, it is the oil tank farm, exactly. The United States has already flown, as the president back then put it, big airstrikes against a lot of the infrastructure. They claim military infrastructure, but Kharg Island was never a place where there was really a very strong military presence. You look at the airport there, it's actually a civilian and military airport, which apparently has been bombed. But what we're hearing from the Iranians is that they've also moved forces now, strengthened their forces there. And the very man that we were talking about just a minute ago, Mohammed Bar Khalibaf, who apparently could be involved in some of these outreach things that have been going on, he threatened that if this island gets attacked, that the Iranians are going to unleash hell, as he put it, in the entire Gulf region.
When we're talking about Kharg Island, if the US did go after it, what would that mean in terms for Iran? How crippling would that be?
It would be crippling for their oil exports for a while. It's not clear whether or not they could reroute any of that. Of course, oil infrastructure, as you know, always involves pipelines, involves pumping oil. So it would be a blow to them. But at the same time, of course, if the U.S. did that, the Iranians would obviously turn off all the taps that bring oil to this place, and that would probably mean an explosion of the oil price as well, because there would just be so much
another
less
escalation.
It would
another
be a
massive
escalation
of what we're seeing.
If you do this, first of all, it would be the first time that troops on the ground inside Iran, on Iranian territory. The Iranians have said that they would then absolutely unleash their military on any countries that had anything to do with aiding the United States militarily, which is all of the Gulf countries.
While I have you here, and you're an expert in Iran, you were the first journalist to cover this war from Iran for us. A lot of talk about also Abu Musa, I'm going to bring up, Al-Arak Island. What do we know about, I mean, that's just for context, so people could see that's Hormuz Island. What do we know about these islands?
Hormuz Island, obviously the island after which the strait is named, but you can see Al-Arak Island, obviously, this position here really on the forefront in the most narrow part of the Strait of Hormuz. So the Iranians have some radars there. It's an important place for them as sort of, the place to control, essentially, the Strait of Hormuz. At the same time, though, as you can see, I mean, the strait is such a narrow place. Even if they don't have that, they can still project power from any of these other areas.
But going after this is very different from going after this.
Yes, I mean, this is going after their oil and gas infrastructure.
And
or their
the other
oil
one is trying to ease the Strait of Hormuz.
The other one is trying to open the Strait of Hormuz.
Trying to open all this.
But I mean, even if you have this, you can see that there's others. Keshem Island, for instance, is more of a nature reserve, actually. It has a lot of tourism as well. But the strait is still very narrow in various places. You don't have to interdict tankers if you want to close the Strait of Hormuz. In the Strait of Hormuz, you can also do it in the run-up to the Strait of Hormuz.
And that's where we haven't seen. That's pretty much been only several vessels have actually made it through. But that has been completely frozen, and they have control.
It's been frozen. The Iranians have essentially said they control this place now. They control this place, and they decide who goes through there and who doesn't.
Fred, great to have you on the show. Thank you very much.
Jeremy, obviously, Israel is the United States' partner in this war, and they see the risks, obviously, in some ways very differently than the United States. What about when it comes to a ground invasion of Kharg Island? How do they see it?
Well, there's no question that the Israelis, like a number of military experts, understand that any potential U.S. military invasion of Kharg Island would carry tremendous risks for U.S. personnel who would be involved. One Israeli source telling us that there is concern that should U.S. Marines take control of Kharg Island, that Iran could immediately retaliate using a variety of weapons at its disposal, including shoulder-fired missiles and drones. Keep in mind that Kharg Island is only about 20 miles away from the Iranian mainland. And this source also said that the hope is that they won't take that risk and that they will instead fire at the oil fields, but that there's simply no way to know. And this comes, of course, as Israeli officials are monitoring very closely to see which track President Trump is going to follow here. Is he going to follow the military track as he is building up this force of Marines and airborne 82nd Airborne troops as well? Or is he going to pursue this diplomatic track that could potentially see U.S. and Iranian officials in Pakistan as early as this weekend to discuss a way out of a potential escalation of this war? I was speaking to an Israeli official tonight who made clear to me that, look, Israelis are prepared for all of the potential scenarios that President Trump is considering at this moment. They're clearly letting the United States stay in the driver's seat here as President Trump considers next steps. But there's no question that they feel like they haven't yet achieved all of their objectives, and they would very much like to continue this military campaign. But they are open to a diplomatic pathway if, and that's a big if those objectives can be achieved at the negotiating table as well.
Two special Marine units are on their way to the Middle East, officials have told CNN. It's not yet clear what these Marine expeditionary units would be used for, or in fact where they would be deployed. But speculation does centre around one option for Washington: seizing Iran's Kharg Island, which handles some 90% of the country's oil exports. So if the US were to try and take Kharg Island, what would it look like? This was a joint military exercise 3 years ago in Pohang on the southern coast of South Korea that involved a US Marine Expeditionary Unit, or MU, and South Korean Marines. Troops on the beach, attack helicopters, F-35 stealth fighters, huge assault ships, all training for a land invasion. And now two of these MUs are on their way here to the Middle East, according to officials, although their mission has not been revealed. Now, if Trump does decide to take Kharg Island, it would be a major escalation. But a Marine Expeditionary Unit is just the type of unit that is designed for that operation.
The U.S. is expected to deploy roughly 1,000 soldiers from the Army's 82nd Airborne Division to the Middle East in coming days. So what is the 82nd Airborne Division, and how will they be used in a war with Iran? The 82nd is based out of Fort Bragg in North Carolina. It's the rapid response force of the Army, and it can deploy troops anywhere in the world in just 18 hours. They're an elite unit that specializes in parachute assaults and securing military objectives in hostile territory, though they haven't conducted a jump in combat in years. The unit was formed during World War I, when troops were deployed to Europe as part of the conflict. They've also been deployed during key battles in World War II, like the invasion of Normandy. They've rapidly deployed a number of times in recent years, including in 2020 after the killing of senior Iranian commander Qasem Soleimani, in 2021 during the US's withdrawal from Afghanistan, and in 2022 to Europe after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. We still don't know how or if they will be used during the war with Iran, though a source says the 82nd will be the ready unit in the region, prepared to move if called upon. And they aren't the only U.S. troops heading to the region. 2 Marine Expeditionary Units and amphibious ready groups are also deploying to the Middle East.